Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of Big Sound Small Town, the podcast that spotlights the talented and diverse musicians in small towns and communities. This season we're branching out to include the community of people who make it possible for musicians to be able to perform their music, the producers, the recording engineers, the venue owners, and many others, and as always, the small town musicians. Remember, small town doesn't mean small talent. Hear their stories.
I always have and I always will. There ain't no other kind of music in the world that gives me quite the thrill. When I hear 60-minute man and walking up a one-way street, he's up on the roof, he's under the boardwalk, summertime's calling me.
Today on Big Sound Small Town, my guest is the man with the golden voice, singer Ralph Glenn. Welcome to the show, Ralph.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. I'm so glad to take this opportunity to spend some time with you.
Well, it's my pleasure, actually. You've been singing around Cleveland County just about all your life, haven't you?
All my life. I'm 66 years old and probably started singing in church and from a very early age and
Did you know early that you wanted to be a singer, or did it just happen?
Well, I knew early that I had a talent for it.
Okay,
I was able to sing and what came out of my mouth was at least tolerable to other people. So I realized that early on, I guess. My mother sang to me, and I had a history of my father was not a musical person, but he did have the occasional song on a road trip or something in the car, but which was always pretty comical. But my mother was a singer, and she had a beautiful alto voice. I was able to have some really wonderful times with her before she passed away.
Did that involve like harmony singing?
Absolutely, yeah. The person that taught me to sing harmony, I love to tell this story. We had left the city and moved down into the lower end of the county on 18 South there. And when we moved down there, we went back to the church that was in my father's history. A lot of his family members are buried there, and that's a New Hope Baptist Church. And the pastor there was Joel Jenkins, and he was a wonderful tenor singer, and him and his wife both sang, and he would sing in the choir, and after the choir special, then he would come down and preach, which was unusual. A lot of preachers didn't do that. But in choir practice, I was struggling with singing a tenor part as opposed to the melody.
Right.
And he was trying to explain it to me. And he took this one song one day, just we happened to be singing, I guess, maybe. And he said, okay, this song right here is Stand Up for Jesus. The tenor line has almost only one note in it. So you concentrate and focus and hold on to that note while the other parts are moving around you, and then you can hear what it sounds like to sing harmony. And that was sort of easy to do.
A light
Just-
turned on for you.
Yeah,
right?
and it was one of those epiphany moments, when I could hear the other parts moving while I was holding on to my one note. I heard how the harmony was working around me, and from that point, it was easy. And now, everything's harmony in my mind. Everything. And it's just funny because I've been a lead singer all my life and sang, solos in church but my love is for the harmony, And if I could sing a part, I'd rather sing a part than sing the lead any day.
I understand. I spent a lot of my life singing parts, so
Yeah.
I do understand. It's also something that is difficult to learn, but once you get it, you kind of have it. I mean,
Yeah,
because it's kind of contrary to what you're hearing. So
it's like jumping off a diving board. If you ever learn to get that head down one time and the feet up, you're good.
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So early on, you're singing in church.
Hmm.
Now, does that translate over to school when you get to school, or is that you still just doing this in church at that time?
Well, yeah. When I got to school, about the I guess eighth grade, I began to develop some friendships with some guys that were beginning to develop an interest in music and guitars and things, and so a guy named Aaron Clark, who was in my class, and a guy named Chip Lowry, and a guy named Jerry Hips. We began to talk to each other about our interest in music, and so they, the normal thing is back then, is let's start a band.
Exactly.
Let's have a band. So
Four worse words that could never be spoken.
yeah, so we started getting together and learning some little songs, and there was a few other guys that were playing into that, but we started learning a couple little songs together and practicing together, and with no expectation of ever playing for anybody, just learning to play together as musicians, and that's another term I have a lot of trouble with. And I could tell more stories about that, but I've always been the guy. Me and the drummer are the guys that hangs around with musicians. Yeah. So we're not really musicians. But
you're the guys that make all the money and get all the girls.
That's right. We get all the glory.
All the glory too.
That's right. Yeah, the front man.
The front man.
So so we started a little band, and I think we came up with the name of the Double Chainman or something like that. It was one of those 60s. It was the 60s. So we played for a while.
What kind of music was this?
It was the Doors and
exactly.
That kind of stuff. House of the Rising Sun is something I can remember well doing with those guys. But through the relationships of school, we found out that there were some other guys that were had a little band put together, and they were sort of on the rocks, and we weren't doing anything. But we hooked up with them. Now that was Steve McCraw and Mitchell Guffey.
Okay.
And so we pulled them. Even Mike McSwain played with us a little bit. He's a teacher over at Cleveland Community College. Mike played saxophone.
Okay.
So we were, it was back in those times. Anybody that sort of came up and said, "Hey, I can play something, you know, you say, oh yeah, well, then we're, you know, come on over to, we'll see what we can do. So we did that, and so we really formed a little band there in high school that was considered a band, and we called ourselves improvisation, which was, you know, looking back on it, it was really stupid, really dumb. But I think we looked that up in the dictionary because we didn't know what that meant.
Right, exactly.
But it sounded like it was a musical type of a word, so we thought that would be a good name. Too long to say, it's a really bad name. But anyway, that was it. So these guys, Mitchell played keyboards, and he played an organ. He played this little spinet organ that was in his house, and it's all he had. And so we actually loaded that thing up and hauled it around a couple places, you know. But he was able to, I think his parents probably gave him some money to buy a little farfisa.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so we were on the road then. You know, we could move then.
Right.
And Aaron didn't have a guitar, so I had a what was that thing? It's a Firebird. It's a Gibson Firebird. Really nice guitar.
Yeah, it's a really nice
guitar. I lament the day that I ever let it get out of my hands. But he played my guitar, and so we played, you know, first little birthday party or something that came up, you know, we went and played, and we played I don't know, you know, a couple little different places in people's basements and things like that.
Still playing basically the rock and roll from the radio.
Yeah, we were moving out into oh mercy, what's the guy's Steppenwolf?
Okay,
yeah, Steppenwolf.
Okay.
We played some Steppenwolf stuff, and we were playing some Santana. It was Woodstock, all the Woodstock stuff. But it was rock and roll, and so I don't know. That was that lasted through high school. We did a little talent show at Crest High School. We were talking about that a while ago. They had things like that, and we played. We were playing at that time. We were playing things like really good stuff. Easy to Be Hard, Three Dog Night. We played Sunshine of Your Love, Cream. We were playing Vanilla Fudge, all that stuff. You know, yeah, I was liking it. It was great, and we changed. Oh, I thought I turned that off.
That's
sorry.
That just adds character.
Yeah.
You realize that.
We changed drummers. Chip, this is one of those things that you know as well as I do. Changing band members because they're not what you want them to be. You know, it's as far, you know, is the most difficult thing in the world because band guys are they're the closest of friends.
They are.
And to say, you know, we're at a point in this band that we want to move forward musically, and you're not going to be able to come with us.
Right.
And that is hard.
That is very
and I have those moments in my career as a person in a band are burned in my memory more than anything else because they are difficult times.
They are very difficult.
But we ran across this guy who was from Shelby High School, and I'm sure you know him. His name's John Ware, and John's a wonderful pastor now, and but he was a wild child in those days, and you set him down behind a set of drums, it was magic. And so we hurt Chip's feelings and told him that we really wanted to go with John because he was a much better drummer, and that was a terribly uncomfortable thing because we loved Chip Lowry. I loved Chip Lowry with all my heart. He was such a great guy, and we're still friends today, but that was a hard time. But anyway, John played with us for a while, and that was great because he was a true musician. He could play without just playing what somebody else was playing, So that was interesting. But so that went on during high school, and when I graduated, then that sort of fell apart and was over.
Yeah, that happens with high school bands.
As I don't really remember, the end of that, but right. I'm sure it came with graduating high school.
Yeah, usually.
But now, during high school, I formed a relationship with a guy that was a couple years older than me, and that was B.J. Earl.
Okay.
And because we were, his parents went to church there at New Hope, so they had some little things down there, or maybe something associated with Earl's school or something. I don't know, but anyway, I got to hear B.J. play and sing.
Mm-hmm.
And BJ had a little band too. Him and Bernie Thomas.
Yeah.
And
Mike Ruth,
Hugh Dillingham. Maybe who was the guy? There was the guy that played drums.
Mike Ruth.
Okay.
Maybe.
It didn't ring a bell, but anyway. The first time I heard BJ sing and play just right by himself, playing guitar and singing, seems like it might have been Bee Gees. I started a joke and just played and sang by himself, and I said, "This guy's great." I was so impressed with him, and so we then I formed a relationship through my cousin Mike, I think, Mike Lynch, a guy that was living across the road from him down there named David Ruth.
Yeah.
And David was a drummer. He was several years older than us, but somehow or another, me and BJ and Bernie Thomas and David decided to form a group. We started practicing down in my daddy's basement, which
is been Seth. Is that what
that was? Seth. Yeah, and we called ourselves Seth because that was the going thing. It was early '70s, and there was bands called Smith and that kind of thing, So there was a little short name. The third son of Adam was Seth, and so we began to play everything that was on the radio, and it's like the heyday of pop music, and I can't think of the stuff, but it was Creedence Clearwater, right. It was Lobo, it was Kenny Rogers, it was it was pop music.
Right.
Raspberries, who all these people we did, Kenny Loggins. It was everything that was on the radio.
Broad cross section.
And we auditioned at the AmVets in Shelby, and we were so petrified that we were going to play too loud. And we went in there and we had everything turned down really low, and we played a song or two, and the guy says, "Can't y'all play any louder than that?" We began to play the club circuit in Shelby,
Right.
and it was like the AMVS and the VFW and the DAV and
Right.
the Elks and the Moose, and we were playing because all those clubs. It was a period of time where all those clubs had Saturday night dances, and so there was a place to play, and so we played, and it was really phenomenal because at the time we were probably playing at least 3 or 4, maybe 5 songs that were playing on the radio that were in the top 10 songs. They were playing on the radio, and we were playing those songs out as a cover band, and so that was a good time, and I got married in '72, and the band was already a important part of my life, and so this playing every Saturday night was beginning to wear on my relationship with my wife, and it finally came to a head, and she just said, I can't do this. I just you're going to have to choose between me and being gone all the time.
Right.
And I chose her. And I told the guys.
Wise decision.
Yeah, I told the guys. I said, "Listen, this band's important to me, but my marriage is more important." So I quit, and so that I think I stayed quit for maybe 8 or 9 years. I don't know. I haven't really ever put that timeline together in my head. But
were you singing during that time though? Anywhere?
Church
or nothing?
Well, yeah, church.
Right.
Through my whole career, I've been in my church choir and
Right.
faithful. We talked about New Hope, but we moved to Mount Sinai Baptist Church, and Linda and I got married there. We just let me take a little side trip here. One of the things we do at our church is on Sunday night we take whoever will come, and we'll go and spend some time singing hymns and things like that with some of our shut-ins.
Right.
And this past Sunday night, we went and sang for the pastor that came to Mount Sinai. He was the pastor that married me and Linda, and it was his first wedding ceremony when he came to Mount Sinai. So he's still alive and in not so great health now. He didn't get out as much, but still has all his wits about him, and his name's Broadus Heatherly. And so we were just at his house the other night singing, just singing some hymns. And
So that's like Christmas caroling year round.
it is. It's like year-round Christmas caroling. But
That's a pretty neat idea, really.
yeah. But back to the leaving Seth, which was a hard thing to do, but it was an important thing to do at the time. So there was a number of years that went by there, and I guess it was probably somewhere in 82, 83, maybe, through, we had, maybe, yeah, kids were born in the 75, 76, 78, right in there. So I had been out of the band for a while, and we began to talk about it, how much I missed it and things with my wife. And she said, well, it was a really tough time in my life, but I'm more secure now. I got got kids to tend to. It's not that important. If that was something that you wanted to revisit, I wouldn't mind it. So with the
nowhere in the world could love be any hotter than down at the beach, and nowhere else are the girls any closer and yet so hard to reach. All winter long we've been waiting all this time to come, when we can leave our jeans behind and lay out in the sun down at the beach, down at the beach.
Okay, we're back to Ralph Glenn's story, and we're picking up to the second part of his long career.
Okay, so we were talking about the period of time that I was out of the band. David and BJ, and of course, David, BJ, and Bernie formed another band during that time called the Images, and what a great band they had. The two girls. I'm not going to be able to tell you their names. I'm sorry, but the little short girl that was the keyboard player, she was fantastic, and they were back to doing pop music in the early '80s, which was really great stuff at that time. And as a matter of fact, whenever people talk to me about music, I always say, in a joking kind of way, that there has been no music since the '80s. Everything was either the '80s or back. The rest of it is I had no interest in. That's what I was going to say. But I went and talked to BJ at some point in time, and I said, I think that band had dissolved, and he wouldn't do anything. So I said, what about us? I said, you interested in getting back together and doing anything? And he said, I am. He said, but right now I'm only interested in playing top 40 country. That was sort of his love, and of course mine too. I like top 40 country, so I told him, I don't care what we do, as long as we do something.
Exactly. Yeah, I got you.
So we put Seth back together, and we found out about this guy named Tim Wright, and Tim was bass player. I'll go back and talk about Seth just a minute. When we formed the band Seth, BJ says, I'm going to play the bass. Well, that was as foreign to me because I didn't know Bernie very well, and I didn't know what kind of guitar player Bernie was. But once I found out that Bernie was a serious player, I was okay with that. But I thought it was just it was a crime that BJ was playing the bass, instead of guitar. But it worked out good, and they actually at one point in time, we're back in Seth now, but at one point in time, BJ and Bernie had learned all the twin lead in Ramblin' Man.
Oh yeah.
And so they said we need for you to play the bass on this song. Well, that was a disaster. And I couldn't. And they said, okay, we need for you to sing the part too. I said, it ain't gonna happen. I said, if my fingers are moving, my mouth is shut. I cannot do it.
It's a hard thing to do.
So I was absolutely worthless at that. So we decided to get Tim Wright to play bass. so that BJ and Bernie both could play guitar.
Right.
And we formed the band. We reformed the band Seth and began playing. And that was and we did all top 40 country, and Alabama and America. It was great stuff. Gatlin Brothers, and those were some of my personal favorite things to sing, because Larry Gatlin had such a great voice, and Kenny Rogers, we did Kenny Rogers, and so all of that stuff was establishing me as a ballad singer,
Right.
Which I really like to sing, and to this day, that's my favorite stuff. But so we did country music, and we were loving it, and we were still playing the little clubs in Shelby that we played in the early 70s, and we found out after a while that we were locked into a price range that was about $600, and you can't break out of that.
No, you can't.
It's nothing. Playing the kind of music you're playing, that was the only kind of money you could make as a band. So we began to get, as we booked like wedding receptions and things like that, we would get requests for beach music. And way back in high school, we played out at the Elks Club, and Chip's brother was there, and he brought out some old albums of the Drifters and stuff like that. He said, "Y'all need to play some of this stuff." And we were playing Cream and Vanilla Fudge, and we say, "Man, we're not going to play that stuff. Are you crazy?"
It'll work.
That's right. So I never forgot that. But he was trying to introduce us to the shagging community and the things that they were interested in, and so we. As we were looking at that situation, realizing that people were interested in the what was known as Carolina beach music,
Right.
and this was old R&B stuff that we really loved too. So we began to pick up a few little songs like Under the Boardwalk and stuff like that, that were staples, and introduce them into our playlist. And I guess the big transition was we found out about this big beach music festival that they were having over in Charlotte. And so we all decided to load up and go over there and see what this beach music thing was all about. And we went over there, and they had the Shakers, and they had the oh man, I hate it when this happens to me. My brain just goes dead, and there's on any other day I could name off 50 beach bands, but the Band of Oz and the Poor Souls were there, and just some really super groups were there, and so we go out there, and this is at the Metrolina Fairground,
Okay.
and we go out there, and they got the big blow up beer cans and bottles and things around, and it's a people are hauling coolers into that place that look like you could pull them behind a car, and we go down there, and there's like 10,000 people at the Metrolina Fairground to hear beach music, and it's in the summertime, and all the women there are in bikinis.
Exactly.
In the and we're just our jaws are dropped open, and the music comes on, and these guys have got white jumpsuits, and the music is fantastic, and it's horns, and and I said, and it was just about in mid '80s, and we looked at this thing, we looked at it and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do beach music. And so we began to follow, that kind of music and hear what was out there, for us to learn and put into our program. And we've made the transition from country music to beach music, and we began to book more expensive jobs and things, wedding receptions and those kinds of things. But now
the money improved.
The money improved, but that being said, the shagging community, there's no money there. The people that dance, they'll come to hear a beach music band playing at a reception or something like that, and they'll get out there and shag. But if they're meeting in their clubs, they're not interested in the band.
That's how the DJ market
it's all DJ market. They're all listening to records.
A friend of mine, he's made him a musical career.
Yeah, of course, and they've got they play records,
right?
And they have a turntable that you can adjust the speed on, because they get the dancing speed exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's about.
It's what it's about. It's about the dancing.
Yes, it is.
So but that part of the genre is what we were learning, what songs to play from,
Right.
and what people were interested in and what they were dancing to. And we began to learn chairman of the board. And
did at some point you have to incorporate some more players, or were y'all doing it just like you were?
Okay, well, thank you. We picked up. We needed a keyboard player. We had a little guy named Scott Ryan that played with us for a while when we were still Seth. And he didn't work out. He wasn't really interested in playing the amount that we were playing or whatever. But we ran across Rod Mooney.
Right.
And Rod came, and Rod was a great keyboard player. He had great keyboards. He had all the horn sounds and everything like that. He had what we needed to get the beach sound without actually having the horns.
To add horns.
Yeah, so Rod played with us for many years, and Rod also introduced a different interest in music, to the band. We wrestled with that later on, that his particular musical interests weren't exactly what we were trying to do, but great guy and great keyboard player. So we eventually changed our name. We had some kind of little silly contest that didn't work out. We didn't get a name from that, and we ended up at the 11th hour. BJ said, "Well, what about Ocean Boulevard?" And we all just looked at him and said, "Where have you been?" That's what a great name. So we changed our name and changed the logo on our bus. We had no Chevrolet bus that we had converted.
Sitting at Tim's house, we lived up on Starlight.
I love that bus. First it had Seth down the side of it, and then we took that off and put Ocean Boulevard down the side of it. And it was divided. It had some nice seats, coach seats in the front, and in the back was a partition, and we carried all our equipment, rolled it up an old wooden ramp that I made in the back, and so we were on the road, and we played a lot of jobs, but it was always part-time, and we played at best, we played maybe 25, 30 jobs a year, and that was about all we could manage, I guess. And So that takes us up to, I don't know. We did that for
You did that
for a long time.
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
yeah. Once we got started and got to that point and got our identity, I guess,
Yeah.
as a beach band.
Yeah, I mean, y'all did it.
Then
y'all did it
then we
forever.
played some really cool jobs. The Shriners booked us down at Myrtle Beach a few times, and we went down there and played some jobs. Tim Crotts
Yeah.
played saxophone for us for a while, and he was a great saxophone player, and we got some really cool little instrumentals out of that he would play. Cherry Pink and Apple Blossom White and The Girl from Ipanema and great slow dance stuff, play at weddings and things. And he was a really good player, but he was a bluegrass guy too.
Yeah, he was.
So he was learned to play saxophone, I guess, in high school, but was interested in bluegrass too. At some point in time, we changed drummers, and I can't remember what the circumstances was that David.
You wound up playing with me during sometime after that.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. But John Reed came and played with us,
Right,
and played with us for years, and that was a great relationship. John, such a great guy.
Yeah.
He's an icon in Shelby.
He is.
The
I
the
did
owner
it.
of Shelby Music Center, like his father before him.
I did one with him as a drummer, but I'm going back to do one with him as the music store. It's been a big part of this community
Yeah.
musically.
You should get a bunch of guys together and get all of them to tell their Charlie Reed stories.
Oh, I should get the guys that work there. Great idea. Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah.
I had 2 ideas and 2 interviews this week, thanks to people that I was interviewing.
Yeah, Charlie
Yeah.
always had a story. He was always telling something, and everybody that ever went into Shelby Music Center can talk to you about
They can.
Charlie
Yes, they
Reed,
can. Yes, they can.
And Charlie always told the story about Hartley Peavy walking into his store one day with, he was like, said, "I got this little line of amplifiers that I'm starting up, and I wonder if you'd be interested in putting some in your store." And Charlie was like one of the first very few distributors for Peavy equipment. And then that business took off and blew up and was everybody had Peavy equipment then. But so I don't know. We played those little jobs at the beach, and we played. That was pretty cool, and we played for some people that were repeat business. We did years and years of the same Christmas parties and things down in Spartanburg, and played Charleston, and just expanded out. Got better and better, and got more and more well known, and we got to the point where we were trying to do some recording.
Yeah, I was going to
And,
ask you about the studio something.
Yeah, BJ wrote several great beach songs, and one that we recorded early on and played throughout our beach music history was Down at the Beach. And then he wrote another song that was called "Let's Go Shaggin' Tonight," and we recorded that song, and we got the radio guys to play it, and we were calling and voting for it and everything, and it got it moved up and got to be number one on their charts for a while, and great song. BJ wouldn't let me sing it though; he sang it himself. But it was a great song, and he did a tremendous job writing it, and I was instrumental in doing the arrangement some, and getting the finished product that we actually recorded. And
now, when did you decide that you had enough? I mean, when did you?
Oh yeah, well, Rod, we parted ways with Rod, and Larry Wright came to play keyboards for us. And one of Larry's friends was Phil Lovelace.
Mm-hmm.
And when Phil came to the band, just opened the world up to us, so limited in what we could do as far as having a saxophone break. Almost every beat song's got the sax break in it. And so when Phil came, Phil was such an incredible player, and he was another, a real musician.
Yes, he was.
Because you could just point to Phil and say play, and he could do it. It was amazing. That was always amazing to me. My whole life had been spent around trying to reproduce a song that sounded like the original person that wrote it. And that was pretty much the life of cover bands,
True.
That were playing little, jobs and things. You were just trying to your credibility,
Right.
depended on your ability to make them think that they were listening to the song on the radio.
This is true.
Yeah, if you hear a band playing a song, then the highest praise that they give to you is that sounds just like the record.
Right.
So that's what we did, and that was satisfying to us. And that's this thing of writing music and breaking into the music industry and everything. It never was, certainly was never in my mind. But so we got Larry to play for us, and Larry was a tremendous keyboard player. Could sing backup vocals, and Phil as the sax player, it just added a dimension to the band that we hadn't had before. And not only could Larry play keyboards, but he could step out front and play slide trombone.
Oh, yes.
And so we did that for a while, and picked up some different songs, things that we wanted to do all these years but couldn't because we didn't have the sax and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was rewarding in itself, that we were able to do that. And then the last few years that we played, that I played, Audie Kennedy from Lincoln came and played trumpet for us. And when we had the trifecta of horns,
That was a big.
it was a big thing, and that was my most enjoyable time in the band when we were able to occasionally have those three guys step out front and do some horn stuff. And we recorded some songs. We did Sandy Beaches by Delbert McClinton.
Right.
Why do people cry when they hear the word goodbye in a love song? Tears are sure to fall when you know they gave it all in a love song. Somehow two lovers get a chance at a beautiful is always singing a love song.
All right, I'm back here with Ralph. We're on his front porch. Beautiful day. And he's living most musicians' dreams. He has, at this point in his life, a band with a horn section.
Yeah, when Audie Kennedy came and started playing with us, we began to put together some songs that had horns in them. Of course, Larry was mostly locked to the keyboards, but occasionally he would come out and play trombone. So looked great, to have three guys stand up front, with the horns. And by this time, we got a drummer that was Louis Grigg. And Louis was playing drums with us at the time, and great drummer, absolutely great drummer. He was playing with the house band in what's the club in Charlotte? Sorry, I'm never been there, but he was a good drummer, excellent drummer.
Yes, he was.
He and I did a lot of collaboration with the arrangement of the songs. That was sort of my job. I would arrange the music, which means how we're gonna start it, how we're gonna stop it. We basically played it like the record, or if we had to do some kind of clever ending or something, then I would figure that out. And usually ended up teaching all the guys the harmony parts too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So because even though I can't sing them all, they're all in my head.
Yeah.
And so I would say, okay, BJ,
you
sing a third up, and
he's being modest, I'm sure.
Yeah, Tim, you sing a third down, and so that that all worked out itself. And let me say at this point in time, what a tremendous group of guys to work with. This is not your typical band. I mean, I've heard so many stories about the guys that just were at each other's throats all the time, and particularly if there was a girl in the band. It's the worst thing that could happen. But just a tremendous group of guys. We always worked well together. Always had a common purpose, and that was a real joy to work with those guys. And I love every one of them. All through the years that we played, I just when I see them out, it's just a pleasure to see them. And but with the Louis playing drums, and I started into that story a while ago to say that with me and Louis, he was always interested in how I thought he should end the song. And one of our and we usually did a big finish, some sort of big finish to the end of it. Right. So Louis' term for that was, "You want me to wreck the bus?" I said, "That's exactly what I want, Louis." I said, "On the end of this song, wreck the bus." So he does all of these, big round the drums and big cymbals and all that stuff and big finish. And man, he was great at that. He was great at it, and still is. I'm sure he is. But that was just as he came, and was indoctrinated into the group. That was one of his great contributions.
I guess you had a stage full of people at that time too.
We did. We had a lot of people. It was getting harder and harder to split the money, but it didn't matter, And at some point in time there, we hadn't talked about sound guys. We used a bunch of sound guys through history. Stan Lowry ran sound for us for a while, and for a long time we tried to run our own sound, which was pretty.
Pretty feudal.
Yeah, it was. At some point in time, it got to be so big that there was no way that you could get a decent sound from the stage.
Not with as many band members as you
had to have somebody out front. So I don't know exactly when, but at some point in time, my son came and started running sound for us. His name's Joseph. Joseph has this incredible ear that I certainly don't have. He has such a talent for mix, and so he was not really knowledgeable about equipment, but Tim filled in the gaps there because Tim was a really good equipment guy, and I was too, because I have an electronics background.
Right.
But so we could keep everything working and keep it on, and Joseph was in charge of making it sound good, and he was excellent at it, and still is, and he runs sound at our church too. So, well,
let me say this. Sound men, they get a free pass to heaven.
That's right. They're good guys. They're tolerable guys.
They tolerate a lot of stuff because it's the sound man's problem, not that you've turned your guitar up 4 times during this time. So I think the Lord gives those guys and girls a free pass into heaven.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's great. But we recorded the song. We've been on the radio. We've got a great deal of recognition in the county and in the beach music industry as well. We're not the top name acts and stuff like that, but we're not working full time either.
True.
They are, and they deserve those spots. Right. But we were really glad for the notoriety that we had gained, and appreciative of it, and that people liked our music, and that people would turn out to hear us. We've played for some of the biggest crowds that they've ever had in Shelby for the Live After 5, and we played big crowds in Lincoln, and there toward the end of my career, that was a big thing. The outdoor festivals, the summer block parties, and things like that. So we played a lot of those, and they were always big productions. So you could do the big stuff. You get all the guys out front, and wasn't like playing the little intimate parties and stuff. Which was more subdued, and you were more catering to the people that were dancing and stuff like that. So that was fun, and we tried to be like Beau Srance. We tried to do a little floor show, a little entertaining once in a while. We did a tremendous 50s set, where we dressed up in the greasers' outfits and things, and came out. Sha Na Na was big then, and we did a Elvis thing where I had the costume and the big hair, and came out, which was really funny.
I saw some of that.
I came out, I would come out, I was doing Elvis in his fat years, I would come out on stage with a big bag of Lay's potato chips, eating them.
That's funny.
But we had done a lot of stuff, and I guess the downturn to the end was Larry's sickness, and Larry had developed leukemia, and then we began a period of time where his sickness made things iffy, as far as you booking things, and then Rod came back and would help us out, when Larry would get sick and in the hospital and couldn't play. And so I know you can appreciate this, and any guys that's ever been in a band, because we were working back and forth between personnel, it began to be just a labor of trying to put together a set, some sets, so that we could go play a job with this guy or this guy, and what can we do, and you'd have to spend all your time rehearsing stuff that you weren't doing with the other guy, so the
fun goes away.
the creativity went out of it, and we didn't have time to learn anything new, and it began to get sort of stale, even though it was such a pleasure to play those songs. I mean, we played songs that's been around for 50 years. I mean, we weren't. It wasn't like there was a freshness to the music or something, but it was a joy to play that stuff. But
the classics for a reason. They're fun to play.
yeah, absolutely. So, but we got to where the fun was gone, and not the immediate fun, because it was always a joy to play.
Oh yeah.
But it was
It all goes away when you play. Yeah.
But the in between, and worrying about Larry and just began to get harder and harder, and we were so much older, and so
that's another factor too. As
yeah,
you age,
absolutely.
things change.
And I didn't, at my age, I wasn't really feeling like a young kid up on the stage,
You understand that too.
Let my weight get out of control, and that was hurt your self-image some.
Yeah, I understand that too.
So began to make comments about, is this really worth it? And I began to talk to BJ some, and we had pretty much decided that we were about done, and that we were going to have to find out a time that we could accomplish that without it being so painful.
Right.
And we found a place where the bookings were sort of open, and we thought maybe it'd be a good time to make a transition, and we went to Tim, and talked to him and told him that we had decided that we wanted to get out. And I'm telling you, he didn't see it coming, and it was a hard thing. It was a really hard thing. But our minds were made up, and
So you and BJ left at the same time.
we left at the same time. And we told him that we'd do anything that we could to help him make that transition,
Right.
except play longer.
Yeah.
And so with the other guys in the band, we may not have handled it well, but they were all pretty upset with us at the time. We were at the top of our game, and it was a hard thing to do. But I just,
Comes a time.
I don't regret doing it, because we really were needing to be out. So anyway, that was pretty much, the end of my band career. We got out, and afterwards there presented itself a few opportunities for me and BJ to do a few things together. And man, what fun that was!
Oh, yeah.
Outside of the context of the band, we used tracks, and we did Everly Brothers, and just 2-part harmony stuff, Righteous Brothers things, and we did some gospel stuff. We did Gaither Vocal Band and things, and we did some things for the church, and we played it. We did a whole program for a thing that they do at Christmas time called Parade of Tables, and we learned some Vince Gill and Amy, the little Christmas things they did. Ronnie Millsap did some Christmas stuff. Luther Vandross, I did Luther Vandross. Well, that was incredible. But yeah, the whole thing transitioned from point A to point B with me and BJ.
Right.
Just a mutual admiration society that we've had our entire lives.
So so since this time, are you playing, are you still playing with BJ any?
No, BJ has his own little, I apologize for saying little because it is not.
I know
it is a great.
But after a big band, it's
but
I
he
know
has
where you're going with that.
he has a website and a show that he takes on the road that he calls Back When I Had Hair, which is hilarious because he really did have some great hair.
Back in
the day, he had great hair, but he plays. Still, a lot of his country roots things. He still does some beach music, and he plays guitar, plays the old ventures and things as instrumentals. But it's great stuff, and he does that in the lounge before a lot of the shows at Don Gibson Theater.
Actually, he and I judged a Don Gibson songwriter
Yeah.
deal one time.
Yeah.
Together, so.
Yeah, I remember him telling me about that.
Yeah,
he is. So like I said, we did some stuff, but even before the band was, we got out of the band, my wife and I have been singing choral music with the Cleveland County Choral Society for many years.
Yeah.
And we do that faithfully.
You still do that?
Still do that. Yeah, we're rehearsing right now for the 40th season of the Cleveland County Choral Society. And we sing together. We do duets at church, and I still do a lot of the solos in the choir and do special music on occasion. So very, very fulfilling.
The band has left, but the music has not left.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Well, I do appreciate you taking your time and extending your hospitality to let me come here and do this.
This has been great.
It has been a real pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me too, Sandy.
All right, thank you.
Every little boy now wants to dance his arms around you, but no one else will do but you. And you're 39, 21, 40 shade. Girl, you got me going.